This is the Bambu Lab A2L, a larger version of the Bambu Lab A1, closer in size to some of their H series of printers, and as with every new Bambu Lab printer, it comes with some features that aren't yet on the most expensive Bambu Lab printers. I always say the best Bambu printer is their latest one because they're constantly innovating and adding new features on every new printer that comes out. Before we get to the review, I did want to address the recent news about Bambu Lab going after an open source developer, and say I just don't think they did it in the best way. But this is a complex topic and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to pretend to be one. I don't fully understand international trademark and licensing laws. Bambu wasn't going against something like Orca Slicer or your ability to use any slicer you want. You can still use any slicer or any filament with this printer. If a company were to change those two key features, then I wouldn't use that printer anymore. They just make it really easy to use their Bambu slicer. It's not a closed ecosystem, it's just easy to use. One click on MakerWorld opens the file in Bambu Studio, slice and send directly to your printer that knows exactly which filaments are already loaded in. I can print any STL sliced on any software using any filament I want. I can use my own screws, magnets, and motors for the projects, but Bambu Lab has come in and added a ton of ease of use and accessibility that the 3D printing community has needed for years. This is not a sponsored video and I can say whatever I want here. And I am going to review it as it comes out of the box using the manufacturer's slicer, same as I do with any other brand. I want the stock experience right out of the box so you know how good this printer would be if you're thinking about buying it. So let's get right to the A2L. The build volume is pretty interesting here. 330 millimeters on the X, 320 on the Y, 325 on the Z. So it's three different numbers here. It is 105% larger in volume than the original A1. On the A2L, this up here is actually a buffer, so you can connect separate AMSs directly to this. Underneath the front plate here, it is a little bit easier to remove. There's the same indicator dial and the same nozzles are super easy to change here. And there are these mounting points for the cutter and pin plotter. Up on the top here, this is the hidden accessory port for the cutter and pin plotter, and inside here is the upgraded motor. It's more powerful and better able to detect errors. On the standard A1, on the top here, this doesn't move up and down, it's just a standard 4-to-1 converter. Under the faceplate here, you can change the nozzle and you can replace the indicator dial, but there aren't the mounting points for adding on the cutter or pin plotter. On the top here, there isn't the plug, and the motor inside here isn't the upgraded new one. On the left side with the filament ejection chute, this new sensor here, this detects if there's too many large blobs. If this gets pushed, it will detect it and cause an error. And you can see it's not here on the original A1. If you shake the printer, you can hear those little beads are rattling around in there, and that should physically dampen the movement on this printer. Those aren't there on the original or on any other Bambu Lab printer. This is also their first printer to come with what they call active vibration compensation. So instead of just one time doing input shaping, they say it's actively compensating for vibrations while it's printing. And they added these triangular vertical upright supports, which should add stability because this is a larger printer. This printer has the ability to connect up to 19 spools at one time. Since this is a buffer right here, 3 spools can be connected from the AMS light, and then we can disconnect this one PTFE tube, and then we can connect up to 4 AMSs or AMS2s, up to a 4-to-1 hub, and then the PTFE from there connects directly in the top here. Around on the back of the printer there are 2 plugs, a 4-pin plug for the AMS light, and then a 6-pin plug for the regular AMS units. Now on the print screen here we can go to the filament. Here is the regular AMS2 Pro over here. If we try to tell this to dry over here, it'll say that it's unable to because of insufficient power. That's really awesome that it's able to detect that without messing things up. Then the AMS light over here, it will let you print from all of these. If I say to load this one, it's not going to be able to because the PTFE tube is not fully connected. You do kind of have to remember which one is not actually connected now, but now we are able to pull up a print and then we can print this using the full AMS over here. And even though it is a large printer, it still has that high speed that you come to expect from a Bambu Lab printer. When it comes to the launch price of this printer, the standalone A2L is going to launch at $469 or 379 euros. The combo coming with the AMS Lite will be $569 or 489 euros. And there will be an extra 10% off of the cutting upgrade kit if you buy it at the same time. I think this comes in at a really great price, right between the regular A1 at $300 for the standard printer, $400 for the combo, and the next step up in price will be the regular P2S at $550 for the standard printer, or $800 for the AMS2 Pro combo. The AMS and AMS2 are really awesome features to add onto these printers, but it is really nice to have a cheaper option in the AMS Lite. Now let's talk about some of the things that I printed on this machine. And I say this as a compliment, every Bambu Lab printer prints about the same. On some Cyberbrick projects, some of these pieces were printed on a $200 A1 Mini, and some of them were printed on a $2,000 H2D, and I can't tell which is which. Bambu Lab really makes all of their printers print so well. So here we've got a test print of a 2-color panda, and it worked really well to isolate colors here. White and black are really hard to isolate, and they did a really great job. I printed some silk prints. This turned out beautifully. It does have a bit of a seam showing up here, but I do wonder if that could be fixed in the slicer. Either way, it is a beautiful print. It screws together correctly. And the seam really isn't as noticeable on more complex and matte surfaces. This funnel prints flat, and it did a good job at the overhangs on the inside. I printed some large things to use the build plate. These are some craters for Warhammer, and this is a turntable, good for painting miniatures, and it can rotate around. Everything prints great, lays flat. This is a large vase mode print to fill out the build volume, and it did a good job with adhesion on the bottom. I did stop it halfway up because I realized it was having some gaps in here. I don't know if this is because I scaled this up a lot to make it fill this build volume, but the bed adhesion worked out great. Next up, I did test out the height here. This tube is 30 millimeters in diameter and 325 millimeters tall. This is perfectly smooth and straight all the way to the top of a very tall and narrow print. Whatever they're doing with their automatic vibration compensation is really working well here. When it comes to print quality and quietness, those are two features that are standard on all Bambu Lab printers. They're extremely quiet. Sometimes I leave them printing in this room while I'm recording my shorts over in the corner. Next up, we'll cover the cutting and plotting module. I printed out this case for it because it's really useful to keep all of these parts together. This is our actual cutting module, and it's really quite simple. This lifts straight up, pull off the indicator dial, slides straight down, locks in place. The plug goes right into the top of the hot end here, and as soon as you plug it in, the firmware switches over from 3D printing to two-dimensional things. It gives you your calibration, say next, swap out the build plate for the flat cutting plate, say start with the calibration. And it runs through a little calibration sequence. Here we can put down the vinyl we want to cut, starting all the way in the top corner. It is very large and sticky, but smoothly without any bubbles, pressing it all the way down. This entire thing happens in under a minute. The entire cutting operation is so fast once it starts working. It has faintly cut it into the vinyl here, and then we take this hook and we use this to remove any extra material in the sticker. Well, there I actually messed up. I was supposed to leave the eyeball there to make this a complete sticker. We can cut it again, moving to the right. This part of the process is called weeding. Really satisfying. This is a printed box to help it clean. I could see this tool being super useful for larger stickers. This is just another layer of stickers here. We take the sticker, stick it to the vinyl. Perfect for a little Warhammer painting accessory. And I did a sticker of a Benchy on a water bottle. This one turned out super well and is so delicate and complicated. The first one I did was a sticker of my logo, but I was focused on other details, so I didn't realize that I had it mirrored. But it's so cool to be able to make your own custom stickers. I love how easy they make it to switch to the pin plotter. Take your pin, slide it into the top here, tighten down the pin on the top. The blade, you just grab here and carefully pull straight down, and then the pin, you slide straight up in there, here. Then automatically the firmware knows which attachment you've added. I was impressed with the accuracy here. Here's my logo drawn with this pin. It's a pretty large pin, and they were able to really accurately draw these sharp details. It's a really cool custom look being drawn out by a real pin instead of just a standard two-dimensional printer. I could see this being a really fun accessory to really get into different colors on your markers. When you're done with this, remove the pin accessory, put back in the blade module, put the cover on, lift up this lever on the left, pull it out, detach the plug. I'll put back on the indicator dial for fun. The cover goes right back over top. And now it's ready to do 3D printing again. When it comes to the downsides of this machine, I really wish they could have updated the processor in here. Some of the things are still a little bit slow in the same way that they were on the A1. The webcam is still running at 0.5 frames per second, while their more expensive printers are actually a video you're watching instead of a slideshow of pictures. I also wish more of their error detection processing was happening on board like it is on their more expensive printers, but unfortunately it seems like the processor here is still very similar to the original A1. But other than those minor issues, everything you see is what you get. I really haven't run into any unexpected errors here, any unexpected issues. If you're disappointed that it is another bed slinger printer, bed slinger printers print great. Everything I made on this machine printed beautifully. If you want an enclosed large printer like this, unfortunately you do have to spend H-series money to get an enclosed large printer. But I do think this one slots in nicely between the regular A1 and the upgrade to the P2S. But I do love that large printing is going to be way easier and more accessible for a lot more people. But let me know in the comments what you think. Is this enough of an upgrade to be worth calling it the A2? I am really excited to do a bit more work with the cutting module, and I am going to be doing some YouTube shorts covering the things I'm going to be making. So be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss those. I will also have some affiliate links in the description down below if you are thinking about picking up this printer. Those really help the channel out at no additional cost to you. But that just about wraps it up. Go out there, create something amazing today, and I'll see you in the next video.